welcome back to the Story of Man podcast. My name is Andre O. Ferguson, and today I wanted to talk about distance. So what is distance, and what do I mean when I say distance? As you know, on this podcast, specifically, I talk to my brothers about learning how to choose love and transform their relationships. And I'm wearing a hat today because I think it's cool. But on a serious note, we wanted to make sure that we understand the difference between distance and space. Space, distance, and taking time to resolve a situation as opposed to distancing yourself from your partner. As I said, I truly believe that if us as men acknowledge our responsibility to choose love and transform our relationship, a lot of the ills we have in society would be different. And also a lot of the ills we face in our relationship would be different. Choosing love is an actual choice, and we have to learn how to do that in order to maximize the full potential of our relationship and in order to have a successful relationship. My vision, my task, I believe my purpose on this planet is to help men to learn how to choose love and transform their relationship. And I do that in two ways. I do that through my Story of Man organization, my charity, which is where we help young men who are at risk of various things. And we help them to make better decisions in life, especially when it comes to their interpersonal relationships, whether it be among friends or girlfriends. And also I coach men in learning how to choose love and transform their relationship. So without further ado, distancing. Actually, let's just be clear. Distancing and separation, distancing and taking space or having some space or taking some space whenever there's a conflict situation is not necessarily a bad thing. Taking some space to collect your thoughts, to prevent yourself from making rash decisions or saying things that are hurtful is important and also wise. However, when you talk about distance, when you talk about leaving that space without communication, then that's where the problem comes in. I give you an example. If you and your missus are in an argument or a disagreement, conflict, and you just decide to walk out the room, then that's a negative. You know, if you in your mind know that if you take some space from this, you'll probably be better able to deal with this on your own and work out your feelings on your own, and you just walk away, then what you've done is turned your back on your missus's feelings, and obviously she's going to find that disrespectful. Now, there's a better way to do that. You can say to your missus, look, actually right now I don't feel like I'm in the best headspace to have this conversation. Would you mind if I take an hour to go and collect my thoughts, or 10 minutes, however long you need, to go and collect my thoughts so that I can come back and have this conversation with you rationally, respectfully, so that I can fully understand where you're coming from. She would greatly appreciate that, because then you're considering her feelings, but also you're getting to kill two birds with one stone, because she's now understanding that you're not actually trying to get away from the situation. What you're trying to do is actually deal with it in the best possible way. And that's the best way to do it. So that's how you take some time out, some space, as opposed to taking distance out of your relationship. Distancing for yourself or from yourself or from your relationship is a negative thing. You know what I mean? The more distance you create within your relationship, the harder it is for you guys to connect. And if you are just taking that time out to internalize everything that you might be going through or not going through, then your partner is going to struggle to connect with you. And it's important that you understand the difference between space and distance. 1. Is distancing helpful or harmful to your partner? Well, let's think about it. As I said just before, distance is different, completely different to taking some time out, to taking some space, to asking for some space, to take care of your own feelings and to understand why you feel the way you feel. To be fair, your partner can never understand how you truly feel unless you communicate that. And if you don't know how to communicate that because you don't truly understand what you're feeling right now, it's going to be difficult for you to communicate that to her. So it is wise to take some space. However, if you just go away and if you're just distant, even if you're right here with her on the sofa, in bed or whatever, and you're just distant emotionally, then that's where the problems come in, because she can't connect with you. So distance is a negative, space is a positive. Learn how to communicate the difference between the two. Actually try and avoid one of them. And I leave that one up to you. So take some time out also to think differently about how you create space and how you, and the negative effects of distancing. So take some time out. I mean, me personally, I like to go for my Sabbath evening walks. So I go and I'm gone for 2 hours. I generally communicate that to my missus before I go, whether we're in a good space or not so good space. She knows generally I go for my walk at X time every Sabbath, and I take 2 hours or more, depending on the situation. If we're in, a negative situation, not so good situation, I might take longer because I might need more time to collect myself so I can come back in the best positive space so that we can better help each other, or I can better help the situation, even if I don't necessarily feel like it's my fault. But it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Ultimately, when distance is in your relationship, all the cracks begin to open. Everything becomes amplified. If I drag my feet around the house and she, normally just gets on with it and doesn't bother her. If there's distance, now all of a sudden those me dragging my feet becomes, me playing the drums in the house, and now it becomes annoying. So that's what you have to try and avoid when you're dealing with distance and when you're dealing with space. Communication is the key in this situation. If you're struggling to communicate how you're feeling and why you need some space, think about the other person. Think about what they might need, because think about it this way. I know I personally like to have solutions to any issue straight away. So straight away, I want to find a solution to this problem, because I don't like waiting. I call it festering. Whereas my wife is slightly different. So my wife believes, and rightly so, that sometimes it's best to take some time out to collect your thoughts, understand your feelings, try and process what you're going through in order to be able to articulate yourself in the best possible way so as not to create more problems. I generally disagree with that theory. But as I said, it's wise. It's wise if she knows herself that if she just forces this conversation, it's going to turn out bad because she hasn't fully processed what's going on yet. Whereas I might be able to process it a lot quicker, because that's my way of doing things. And I just want this solution right now. Whereas she's just saying, look, baby, let me take some time. But if she just walks out the room, then that's going to be a problem. What we have to work on is how to communicate that, taking the space, how to take that space, take that time, take that processing time to work on what you're feeling and what you're going through, so as best to make the best decisions within the relationship. And it's imperative that as men, we learn how to do that as well. I have clients that I work with who, maybe come from different cultural backgrounds, and you'll have the man deciding, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, and you're talking to me in this way, so I'm just gonna leave. And he leaves, and sometimes it's weeks before he comes back. Now that is definitely a terrible way to deal with your conflict, and a terrible way to deal with your problems. You're doing multiple things there that are harmful and detrimental to your relationship, not just your relationship, to your partner. Consider how she's going to feel when you make those choices. Consider how she's going to feel when you say some of the things you say and just storm out the room. While you may feel justified because you are hurt, ultimately love is about taking care of the other person's feelings and emotions. And yes, sometimes it's difficult. I'm not sitting here trying to act as though it's not hard sometimes when somebody is just rubbing you the wrong way and you're supposed to just take it all the time. No, ultimately love is about compassion. Love is about understanding. So your job, even in the hardest times, because that's when love shows up, even in the hardest times, is to show understanding and to show compassion. Your job is to diffuse the situation as best as you can. And I know, again, sometimes that's not easy. And again, if love is about trial, it's about, and if you as a man, if you call yourself the leader in your relationship, then leadership is hard work. Leadership is about clearing the pathway. Leadership is about creating that safe space. Leadership is about making a door where there wasn't one before. Leadership is about carrying most of the burden. That's what leadership is. So if you are not ready for that, then you shouldn't have signed up for this relationship thing. You know what I mean? So taking the understanding, having the compassion you need to deal with conflict situation, even when, it's digging you in the neck, even when it's tough, is all about understanding the other person, understand what the main goal is. The main goal is to be happy ultimately. And it's better to talk to somebody when they're in a more receptive frame of mind. And that might mean saying, look, baby, can we just take a time out? Let's take a 10-minute time out because this is a bit heated. Let's just take some space for ourselves, if both of you might need some space. And then you come back Because when you don't do that, when you don't communicate that in the right way, what happens is you start creating distance in your relationship, because you're both going to hold on to your points of view. Nobody's really compromising, nobody's giving in. And what happens is I hold on, you hold on, and then we start doing this. We start pulling away from each other, as opposed to, okay, let's look at this situation for what it is. Ultimately, we love each other, and that stays in the middle. I have an opinion about the situation right now. So do you. Should we just process our individual opinions and then find a consensus? And that might mean taking some space for an allotted period of time, and you should give that allotted period of time a time limit. So you might say, okay, let's take an hour. I'll go for a walk. You might just sit and whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. And when we come back together, we can figure this out together. And when we figure it out together, that creates now a greater bond, because you've worked together to find a solution, as opposed to creating more distance because you have differences. Remember, you're two people coming together to make one relationship. It doesn't mean you're the same. You're individuals. And ultimately, that's going to create, you're going to have differences of opinion from time to time. And that's fine. That's healthy. How you deal with those differences of opinion, though, is the key to having a successful relationship. So that's it for me today. I hope this has helped you. Remember, create space, not distance. Take some time. Don't create distance. Don't move away. Take some time out to come back stronger, as opposed to creating distance to move away from your relationship. Love is about work every day, and it's a daily recommitment to what you want to actually achieve in your relationship. So that's it from me for now. Remember, enough love, enough respect, and remember, write your own story. Blessed love.